We are now live. Live. Live, live.
I
Not
did.
Memorex.
So yeah, is analysis paralysis preventing your progress is the title of our video today, and the description is Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Thanks for that, by the way, Joshua.
You're welcome.
Very good.
It is kind of a tongue twister, although I do like the rhythm of it, the alliteration.
That's right. That's right. Let me see if I can get the chat window open. Cool. What's happening for you in Florida today?
Same as every day. What are we going to do today, Pinky? Take over the world, brain.
That's right.
Or no, the other way.
So, anything of interest?
Mean in my neck of the woods?
In your brain, in your life? I don't know.
Oh, always all sorts of things going on and of interest, but at least interesting to me. I've been working on the platform audit process to invite a few people. I know we've opened up a few private consult spots where we can actually chat with people, and so I've been kind of putting together a way to do that, so to speak.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Yesterday I went swimming.
At the nude beach.
I went back to that same area, but we did not visit the nude beach this time. Nope. Eventually we'll get there. We'll get there when the time is right. It's actually very funny. Because we were there with a few different age, some young kids and stuff, and it's funny because we're like swimming, and every now and again, pretty much you see these guys walk by, and they're all older, and they're just single dudes, and they're walking by. They just kind of have a backpack and a towel, and they're kind of like looking down, like trying to sneak into the woods to go off to the nude beach area and be like subtle about it. It's very funny. It's very funny.
What's up, Gene? What's going on?
Good morning, Gene. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. So today we want to talk a little bit about analysis paralysis, and specifically, is learning too much preventing you from making progress in your business, right?
Or is the what I would call linear learning as opposed to experiential learning causing a problem for you?
So let's talk about that, right? Paint the picture, Joshua. What's the situation that you're imagining right now that someone's going through?
Well, like when you, I think it's very common, even if you're a successful business person, especially in this age of technology, in this crazy, where a new breakthrough idea, technology, tool, resource, millions of them come online daily, if not minutely. And so it becomes like, how do you keep up? Which of course you can't. And then it also becomes like, well, I got to learn all of this stuff, and wait a minute, like how do I know all this stuff? And until I understand how this all works, then I can't move forward with whatever.
Right.
And I know I've been stuck there, and thus the paralysis of analysis. But I think it goes even deeper than that, because I think that we can get addicted almost to that process of tricking ourselves into believing, well, I got to have that. If you ever saw Caddyshack with the character that Bill Murray plays, and where he's like, so I've got total consciousness, so I got that going for me, see? And it's like, I think we're like waiting for perfect clarity or something, and then all of a sudden we're gonna understand all of this front to back, and we've got it, and it'll all click into place, and then all of a sudden it'll all make sense, and then we can move forward. And unfortunately, if you're not learning and doing at the same time, or learning by doing, even if you learn something perfectly fine intellectually and you know it inside and out, there's always a gap between, applying it in the real world in your situation and knowing it intellectually, and it's about bridging that gap. So you're never going to have perfect clarity. So you might as well go through the learning curve at the same time that you're going through the clarity. You might as well get clarity in motion experientially, because frankly, it's the only way to do it.
It is the only way to do it. And here's why, right? Is maybe you know what you're doing. Maybe you don't know what you're doing. Chances are, if you're learning something new, you don't know what you're doing yet, right? That's the whole point. So you're learning something new. You don't really know what you're doing with it yet. And let's say that you go through and you spend 3 weeks going through a course,
right?
Course or coaching program. And you're like, I'm going to read this whole thing through. And then once I understand it, I'm going to go back through and implement the whole thing.
Yep.
Most people do this. If you're wondering why you're not making as much money as you should be, this is probably a key culprit. Okay. Maybe not the primary culprit, but it's a major one that really messes people up, myself included. So you go through, first of all, most people are never going to go back and go through the material again.
Yeah,
ever.
In spite of best intentions, right?
Right. So first of all, that's just a cop-out, and it's a reason to procrastinate because you don't want to look or feel stupid, right? Or look or feel dumb, or publicly, shame yourself or whatever, right? And so even if you do go all the way through that course, and even if you do go and you go back through and you're like, here's what I'm going to do, and you make a decision on what you're going to do, and you point yourself in their direction, and you doggedly just go in that direction and put your head down and do everything the course says, and you're not really paying it, and you just like get it all done in 2 days because you're not paying attention to the steps along the way in the learning process because you learned it conceptually and then you just decided you were going to do it. Often that's when people find, I did the whole course and it didn't work. And that's because you made some stupid decisions and didn't respond to feedback as you were going, right? Because we all make the stupid decisions. So this is the classic metaphor of the airline pilot, right? Where the entire time you're flying, you're always off course and you're always course correcting. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, just like with the airline pilot, it's a great analogy. I do believe that there's a balance, though. An airline pilot never goes up without going through his or her checklist, and they have their knowledge base, and they make sure that even if they've done it a million times before, they always have to do the walkthroughs and the run-throughs on the checklist to make sure that they don't forget something simple that they know that they should be doing, and because people's lives are in danger otherwise. And likewise with putting something new into action, is that there's a point, and it's a balance point. Only if you're using it as an excuse to not make progress forward, or if it's really something that you need to gain some additional insights on. And I'll tell you, I know I've talked about this multiple times before, Telman, but one of my mantras now comes from Seth Godin's article that he entitled "Scrappy, Not Crappy." And, my excuse up to this point had been, well, it's just too crappy. It's not good enough yet. And I've got to, put it out there. And so I constantly, as recently as today, coached myself as, and I have a little mantra that I say to myself is scrappy shaffy time, and it's about, going forth before it's ready and realizing that isn't crappy. You don't want to put crap out there. So if there's a line of crap and you haven't yet been proficient enough in your learning curve to understand how to not make it crap,
right,
then continue, and then, but make sure that you don't go so far that you're preventing yourself from not getting in motion. And, better to ship a scrappy, deliverable or iteration like we're doing now. I mean, we are going through these live streams, and they're scrappy. They don't suck, but they get better and better and better as we go on and understand what people, want and need.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. And, again, at the end of the day, you know that you're having this problem if you're constantly stuck in learning mode and you're not executing and making money as a result, right? Like if you're, whatever execution is, whether you're learning how to live stream, whether you're doing a webinar, whether you're going through product launch formula, whether you're taking Ryan Levesque's Ask method, whether you're going through Andre's new, ARM course, whether you're taking Kurt Malley's black belt, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's either you're going through it and you're actively implementing, or you're learning and just consuming the information. Now, here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with being a marketing hobbyist, okay, or a hobbyist of any sort. Whatever your hobbies are, whatever your areas of interest are, there's nothing wrong with reading a book and never implementing it. Like, most books aren't meant to be implemented. But at the same time, if you're okay with the results that you're getting and you're cool with just learning and not making any more money, I would ask you, why don't you get maybe a more fulfilling hobby?
You can't say that, Tellman, because you don't know what it means to that person on that end of it, whether it is fulfilling for them or not.
Well, that's the question: are you doing it? Is it fulfilling? Is it fulfilling to just go through courses and not execute? I don't know the answer. I mean, I feel unfulfilled when like I buy a course or take a program and I don't go through it. Like,
but you're looking at people through your lenses.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I mean, I love the process of figuring shit out. You know what I mean? Like, I love that process.
Yeah. And
so oftentimes when I'm learning something new, it's like making it make sense to me and having it make sense. I love that I'm addicted to that. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And so while I might have started out by, wanting to improve something in my life or my business, the act of doing that is fulfilling to me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I mean, when we're talking about business development and growth and that type of thing, well, then there is a balance, right? I mean, because I think we've seen this quite a bit with like the mastermind groups where people are addicted to going to those and signing up to them, and it's more about hanging out with cool people. And even though they're very expensive, they get to a point in their life where they are successful enough and they want to continue, they're working on that principle of the slight edge.
Mm-hmm.
But so they go to all of these mastermind groups, they can afford to, but really what they're doing is it's an excuse to socialize. It's an excuse to hang out, drink, party, whatever, with people that they enjoy being around and with. Right. And, if they get a couple of good ideas in the course of the year, they're happy.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. So if someone is stuck in the analysis paralysis mode, if someone's stuck in the learning without doing mode, I mean, I know that most courses that are out there on any topic, most courses are not built with great implementation and execution on the customer's part in mind. Because most courses are created by non-professional course creators that haven't created tons and tons of courses or programs, right? And you get better at it. The more you create, the more you teach people, the more you work with people.
And that's a great point, because a lot of people that are awesome doers, that are masterful, I mean, like you couldn't hold a candle to them. They can't teach you worth a damn because they don't even think about what it is that they're doing, because they just do it. They channel it, right?
Right.
And they can't understand why somebody doesn't get it. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's so, plain straightforward in their mind. And I think that's what maybe perhaps you and I bond over, is our learning disabilities and our, I have to learn differently. I do learn differently. That's just the way it is. And so the difference with me is it takes me longer to read, longer to learn something. But when I get it, I got it like down to the core of its beingness, so
Right.
to speak.
Right.
And so because I have to break it down to learn it myself that way, it becomes, once I'm clear on it, it becomes easy to provide the right structure to experientially help people learn at the same time, and providing them a framework to follow.
Right. Right. No.
Jean just said something that's pretty cool, that she said, I'm the same. I love the learning, and doing comes after, but not always completed, which I'm fixing now.
That's right.
And I would just offer you one additional tweak to that. Nothing to fix, Jean. You just progress forward, you know,
right.
and so that way you don't beat yourself up. You're not broken. It's not broken. You know, you can move forward. And I think that sometimes when you use the you being the collective you, and I'm speaking as much to myself as I am to you right now, Jean, is, you know, when I say that I got to fix this, well, that implies that there's something wrong and that I am incomplete where I am right now. And so it leaves that, that feeling of, I don't know. I mean, like there's something wrong with me. And personally, I would, you know, like to be empowered and inspired to move forward from an internal frame of reference as opposed to external.
Right.
And for me, that's the difference between motivation and inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Very cool. Very cool. And so, I mean, when people are, let's say you bought some kind of course, $49 course, $500 course, who knows, $5,000 course, and you have found yourself going through some of the modules, reading some of the chapters, watching some of the videos, presumably, and learning. And once you're done learning, then you put that away for the day and you go on with the rest of your day. Right?
Yeah.
And I have some very specific strategies on this, but I'm curious for you, how do you, or have you gone about getting better, or when you do it right, what's your process for executing, for learning while doing it? Like, how do you manage that yourself?
Well, for me, it's a cyclical thing. It's a roller coaster. And basically I find out that I've been in that circle or that cycle, so to speak, after I'm already in it for a bit, you know? And so when I try these days, at any rate, that when I'm doing some learning or I'm going to buy a course because it's something specific that I want to increase my skills and capabilities, you know, for a marketing related, for a business related, for a media related thing. I promise myself that I am not going to purchase this unless I am willing to block out time every single day to go through it and implement it, and to not start it if I'm not buy it, and not start it if I'm not willing to complete on it. And when I start with that intention, then I see it through, no problem. And do I implement perfectly? Hell no. But I do, you know, go in with that intention. When I go in kind of haphazard and I have the best of intentions, that's when I find things slip and get you know, out of you know, my grasp, so to speak, where I don't notice then. Like I have a program that I purchased several months ago, and I started off with the best of intentions, but I knew that it was going to be difficult for me to give it the time that it really needed and deserved, because of what we were doing with NPod. And so I allowed myself permission not to follow through. And to this day, I have the browser windows open for all of the different lessons where I left off on them. And I make sure that I mean, the same 100 browser windows or whatever come up each day. I put it in its own thing, but I'm still not, it's top of mind, but I still haven't actually made the time to go back to it and to implement. For me, the I mean, I started off as a biz op junkie, as a self help junkie, and I didn't have any success until I, put my ass on the line and committed to myself that I was going to see things through, that I was going to finish something. And so when I make the commitment, I'm really good at it because I know what it's going to take for me to learn it, and I know the commitment that it takes from me. So when I make that commitment, I'm clear on what it takes. Then it's no problem to follow through from that standpoint for me. But that also may be one of those things that I've just built up a habit over time with.
Right. Yeah. So the way that mine is a little similar, but it's not exactly the same. Right.
Cool.
The way that it's worked for me, hit and miss in the past, is when I don't necessarily choose it, but basically when I get obsessed. Okay, mm-hmm. So I'm really good at getting obsessed. As I'm getting older, I think I'm getting a little bit more lax, a little more chill. I think that's good, but I don't know. Getting obsessed is pretty good sometimes.
But it's like what we were talking about yesterday. I don't know if we talked about this on air or not, but when we talked about being hungry,
what's the difference between? I think we did. What's the difference between or maybe we didn't. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's all blending together for me.
Yeah, it's basically how hungry are you, right? Is this question of how obsessed are you? And obsession isn't the only way to make this work. But what I've found is that being I'm not diagnosed with OCD, but I probably could be, and so where I've made the best progress in my life and in my business is when I get completely and totally, possibly unhealthily obsessed with a given area of interest or accomplishing something or doing something. When that happens, I don't need to schedule anything in because it's all I think about and all I do all the time, often while neglecting everything else in my life.
Yeah.
Which
I can relate.
Which has its own consequences, right? Yeah, but the other way, the more boring but sustainable way to do this, and I did this with my staff for many years. So I started by saying hour a day of education, hour a day of implementation. 2 hours a day. I mean, I should be implementing stuff in my business an hour a day anyway, and I have to get the education anyway. So schedule an hour a day. And obviously, depending on how your education is being delivered, you might need to adjust your schedule a little bit. But essentially, go through an hour of training, and hey, it might be 90 minutes instead of an hour. I don't know, but go through an hour of training, and then match that, if possible, with your immediate implementation. And what I mean is take a 10-minute break to go stretch, and then come back and get right into it and crank for an hour and do what you just learned. That's it. And when I focused on that, and when I do focus on that myself, I make massive progress. I try to do that. I try to do it 7 days a week. 6 days a week is usually a little bit more feasible. And if you have a family, if you have kids, maybe 5 days a week makes more sense, right? But whatever it is, I really would encourage you to schedule that in. Most people, most of the time, with rare exception, just do it in the morning. Do it in the morning after, when you're at your absolute best. Some people are wicked night owls, but I still find most of the time people have the majority of their energy, the majority of their power, the majority of their willpower, the majority of their enthusiasm. Less bullshit has hit them if they do it first thing in the morning, right? Yeah. Before your day starts pulling you in a million different directions, and then all of a sudden you don't have time for anything else anymore because you have all these other fires you have to put out for the day. Yep. So most people find that doing that first thing in the morning is a really good way of popping out of that problem and just focus on immediate implementation after you've learned it the first time.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is every morning it's my personal reflection time, and no one gets in the way of that, period. And it's the writing time. And it's my time in free writing to write about whatever I want to write about on whatever topic it wants to be, and whatever comes out, comes out. And it's also a way that I can because my thing is when I get too into the learning mode and into the, the fascination mode, then it does lead to paralysis of analysis for me in that I am now second guessing myself and everything else. Like, did I do this right? And I'm going back and forth. And then I got to remind myself, wait a minute, let me center myself and listen to what my intuition, what my gut, what my heart is telling me to do in this moment. It knows. And so at certain times, like at this particular juncture in my life, for like the last, I don't know, 9 months or so, I haven't done much reading or much personal development stuff other than the morning reflection time that is my time. And I still have plenty of breakthrough ideas and insights and connection points, and it does give me the tools then to go out and implement it or some variation of it, but it comes internal from my own vision, my own drive, as opposed to allowing myself to get too worried about doing it right and doing it according to what everybody else is doing. And, being daring enough to try new things, to experiment, to have some fun and risk feeling stupid, or, to invent some shit. Mm-hmm. And so, but it is a balance too, because like I'm feeling now the pull that it's time to go back to, something more structured and give some input from other sources besides just my own connection points.
Cool. Questions, thoughts, feelings, reactions, concerns, hate. What do you guys got for us today? Joshua, what's one of the most interesting things you've learned about marketing in the last couple of years?
Great question. I mean, what immediately popped to mind was Kurt Malley's insights and work with Facebook marketing, and the way that he envisions and thinks about the advertising mechanism, for me was breakthrough. It aligned with a lot of the things that I was working on myself and thinking about, that I didn't have the specific insights and capabilities and knowledge base that Kurt clearly is brilliant at, such that when I heard it, everything just like all the pachinko, marbles fell into place. I was like, and that remains to. I mean, like what he pointed out in terms of Facebook's algorithm and knowing, leaving it up to their AI to figure stuff out, and how he goes about farming it. I think about it a little bit differently than he does, but it's basically the same process. That gave me ideas to drill deeper on in terms of learning more about it, and it influences what we do today and how I think about our live streaming. And it's just, I think it's rare these days that I get surprised, something like totally breakthrough that marketing or that related, that just turns me inside out. His insights did that to me. So.
Very cool. Yeah, Kurt is a super smart guy. I've known him for a bunch of years, and every time I hang out with him, I walk away with my brain hurting.
Ted, what's up, my man?
Ted says, my first internet marketing course was from Joshua.
Ted, did you write about me in a digital marketer report? I'm trying to remember if that was you with that we had an exchange on LinkedIn, and you reached out to me, and I'm drawing a blank as to where it was, but my friend Dan emailed me the report one day and said, "Hey, did you know that you were quoted in this?" And for some reason, I'm thinking it might be you, Ted. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. We also had the legendary Tom Venuto in the house. I don't know if you're still here, Tom, or not, but if you are, Good to see you. And my old friend that I grew up with, Nathan Woods. Hey Nathan, how's it going, dude? Good to see you as well. So what, if anything, are you excited about learning next?
Well, I tell you what, I'm really excited about it. You know, it's interesting. Two things on this that I just want to I think, you know, something that I've gone through an evolution is, as Andre Chaperone would say, you know, doing work that matters, or that you know is leaving your mark on the world. And I've shifted into that. I mean, not that I wasn't there before, but because I'm so, I don't know, now that I'm in my 50s, maybe my whole come from has shifted. So my thought is doing something that really both inspires me personally and is of value and contributes to the world in some meaningful way that I consider to be meaningful by my yardsticks. However, when that happens, at least what I've been struggling with is this push-pull of, scrappy is, where is that line between scrappy and crappy? Right. And because I'm like, that's where I have the insecurities. Like, is this good enough, or, is it ready for prime time, or do I really need to trust myself and refine it more? And where is that balance between, calling myself out and say, all right, Shafi, get into motion and quit hiding out, quit playing small. And I'm the only one that can answer that for me, because that is a moving target. So, I mean, I think that's a key point. And connected to that is what I'm excited to learn next is to implement Sean Twing's traffic course information. He just syncs up with my whole come from in life, and his philosophies about, I don't think it's any accident that he teaches martial arts to kids or to people in general, as I used to do. So I'm really excited about carving that out and getting to a point with what we're doing, Telman, that I can focus, the majority of my time on, expanding our reach through paid advertising methods, utilizing much of what I've learned from Kurt and what I've learned from Sean, and need to continue to dive deep on.
What's Sean's course called again?
The Traffic Engine, TTE.
Cool. Awesome. Well, guys, if anybody has any questions, concerns, thoughts, please let us know in the comments below. And if you're stalled out in your business right now and you like this idea of learning and doing simultaneously, rather than just learning and then moving on to the next thing and learning and moving on to the next thing, Joshua, when you created the curriculum for the NPOD program, you really had this in mind. And can you talk a little bit about why you created NPOD in this really unique way? We might as well talk about the new version of NPOD rather than the original version of NPOD. So the new version of NPOD, why was it created in the 20 module format, and why did you set it up in the way that you did, and what kind of experience do clients and customers have when they utilize this process?
Well, I mean, I equate it to like knocking down a row of dominoes, right? Where it's a chain reaction. You topple over the first one, and if you set them up the right way, you can't stop that chain reaction unless you break the dominoes. And in fact, the hard part is setting up the dominoes to begin with. So what I decided to do is to challenge myself, and based on the business success that I had had up to that point, and working with people and systemizing the processes of how I was able to myself and a team of marketers that we hired to duplicate what we were doing across multiple industries and such. So I decided to challenge myself, like if I could put together a framework that didn't just tell people some great information, but actually focused in on creating a chain reaction that the next domino led to the next one, led to the next one, led to the next one. And it was up to them that it would be built around what their vision was, what they want to see happen, their personal interest and passion, and that I would just make sure that the right business principles, the right marketing principles were there to support them, and make sure that they had enough knowledge to not get off course in terms of the doing this, but not so, but to focus more on the framework of implementation to give them the ability to take action. And frankly, I did it for myself because, like we've talked about this, that's the biggest problem that I had. That's why I didn't, follow through. That's why I, was scared to get in the game. And I had various ideas and business models that were anywhere from like 10% complete to 95% complete. But until like 96, I had not followed through with any of them,
right.
To completion. So it was real important to me because that's when I did that for myself, that's when I was able to become a millionaire for the first time in short order. I was able to create that success and innovations in the marketing world from 98 through 2002, really, where things were really heating up. And I've never forgotten that, right? And so I know that was what made the difference for me. After pursuing all of this for 32 years, and then finally just getting experiential and learning about experiential learning rather than the static, what I now call linear learning. Like this plus this plus this equals that, and so I'm kind of an advocate for that. And really, I've always looked at any of my programs as whether it's on marketing, business development, personal development, or whatever, it's designed in a way to give people enough insights on the subject. But the real breakthroughs, as it were, is to create momentum for people, to give them a framework that they can mold around their particular. It's not so rigid that it is a method or a formula that will stop working over time, but that it's flexible enough, but also giving them enough specifics. Ted, thank you. Ted just said that the NPod CDs gave me a solid marketing foundation for almost 20 years ago. 17 at any rate. If you one of the first to buy, like Tellman.
That's right. Very, very cool. I'm curious, Ted, when you originally went through NPod back in the day, did you implement and build an NPod? I would love to hear if you did. And if you didn't, it's okay. We won't publicly chastise you.
Well, he's big time now, so I'm sure he did. I don't think that I can probably take credit for it, just like I couldn't take credit for you, Tellman, when it was a launch point for people and a foundation to work from. Yeah, man.
Awesome. Hey, Nadim, good to see you. Been a very, very long time. Hope you're doing well. Very cool.
Not as much as it, yeah.
He says. All right. Nice. Cool, guys. Well, look, we if you like this idea of learning and doing simultaneously, one thing I can say is that if you did well in school growing up, then great. But if you didn't, then this is an opportunity for you to really look at from the perspective of this system was built by somebody with significant learning disabilities to really break it down and make it simple and actionable for you. And it was gone through by someone also with learning disabilities that crushed it using the process. And really, at the very beginning stages of my business 17 years ago, to build the model that was my first $1 million business, right? Yeah. And so if you're tired of just going through courses and staying stuck and then going from course to course to course and never really taking action, and you really want to work with a group of people that will hold you accountable and give you the tools and the techniques that you need in order to really build the business of your dreams and really build what you're looking for, that's exactly what this process was designed to do. If that sounds interesting to you and you're stuck in the analysis paralysis mode and you want to kick yourself out of it and really start digging in and building that business in either the existing business or the new business in the way that is really going to sustain and be there for you for years and years to come, then what I'd like you to do is, let's see, what should we have people type today? Type dig in. Type dig in into the comments and then shoot myself or Joshua a direct message or a private message on Facebook so that we don't miss your comment. And we'll just chat about where you're at with your business, what you have going on, and if it makes sense, we'll schedule a private consultation in where we can get on the phone and see whether or not we can help you.
Yeah. I love the fact that we're combining in the experiential aspects of it again and really taking that on steroids, right? And adding the community, peer mastermind, aspects into it as well. And also, I love that we're really, really, really showing people how to build assets, build ongoing assets so that they can build their own income for life marketing engine platform, that they can launch from. And, that's been the case from Jump Street. I mean, I stumbled onto it myself accidentally, built it into NPod, but that's the way NPod was originally built. And I think we've gotten away from some of that, in some of these tactical approaches that are great breakthroughs, but they are short-lived because they are tactical.
Right. As tactics often are, right? Yeah, you need the bigger picture strategy so you can intelligently choose what tactics are going to allow you to implement the strategy and not just be patching together tactic after tactic after tactic, right? Sometimes that works for a while, but it usually doesn't hold long term, right? It usually ends up falling apart. Very cool. All right, Michael, good seeing you. Good seeing you. Mohammed, hello. All sorts of interesting folks popping in here today. All right, Joshua. Well, anything that you have to say on this topic that we haven't already covered?
Nah, man, we probably said too much already.
Rock and roll, everybody. Well, I hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day. Enjoy it. The summer is here. And if you have questions about email marketing, list building, internet business building, ask them in the comments below, and we will address them in our upcoming live stream.
Yeah, man, please do. And give us any insights or feedback that will help us serve you guys better.
That's right.
We'd love to hear it.
Rock and roll, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Toodles.